Вообще не нужно было говорить про слово перерыв. 4 минутки прошло, и вот мы снова с вами на Кулибине, Научпоп, наша с вами сцена
And we continue our Kulibin Science, Popular Science stage, and we will be talking about security
счастье жить
and
в таком городе, в таком мегаполисе.
how happy it is for us to live here in this big mega city, Moscow, of high-level technologies, how IT technologies helps us with our health and life, by the way. Our next speaker, one of the people who help the city with digital development, and thanks to that development, we live a better life. The head of text analytics of the Innovation Center Safe Transportation for the Center of the Organization of Public Transportation of Moscow Government, Vladislav Merkulov. Vladislav, please welcome to the stage. Welcome to the stage, Kulibin, artificial intelligence and how it helps work with big data and why. Vladislav, you have the floor.
Как текстовая аналитика
How text analytics helps improve transportation infrastructure of the city. Today, I would like to speak about maybe a little bit obscure but very interesting areas of our studies that helps us take into account opinions of Muscovites, visitors of Moscow, and not always you can take into account everyone's opinion in very dry reports, but obviously it's very interesting for us to learn about those opinions.
Опа. Супер. Да.
Here we go.
Меня зовут Влад.
So once again, my name is Vlad. I work at the Innovation Center of Safe and Secure Transportation. Probably you've heard about the classical terms such as
Продуктовый анализ, есть BI,
business product analysis, BI analytics, which help
сложных данных простым
data
понятным языком. Но я
interest
бы все-таки сегодня хотел
from
немного
it.
сказать о не самом, наверное, очевидном, но интересном
It's not exactly
аналитики.
very obvious area of this study, text analytics, but it can help us and
Это может
what
дать на выходе для
benefit can it give us, and especially what kind of outcome can our customers have.
буквально в начале пару-тройку слайдов спасибо. Пару-тройку слайдов о том, чем
Just a few words about our organization.
Мы, инновационный центр безопасный транспорт,
We are
являемся
a
хранилищем ключевых
innovative center, safe and secure transportation.
хранилищем,
We
ключевым источником данных транспортного комплекса.
We store the key metrics for the Moscow transportation system. Since 2017, we've been creating products based on number of big data, which are aimed to improve the transportation infrastructure of Moscow.
Для начала, кто-нибудь из вас, хочу задать вопрос, получал уведомление
And-
на телефон о том, что где-то,
Have you ever received a notification that
я не знаю, там,
somewhere you cannot use SMS messages, or maybe somewhere something happens and you should go around this area? So this is what we do too.
обрабатываем, анализируем,
We store, we analyze
но что более интересно, на основе этих данных
transportation data of Moscow, but we also create unique services and products, just like a real startup.
вообще у нас в ИЦ довольно много интересных.
In our information and innovation center, there are different areas. You can start as a consultant, as an
У
analyst.
нас есть полноценные собственные команды,
We also have our own in-house teams, a big data team.
направление транспорта.
And just recently, we had transportation
Потому что там специалисты
modeling or transportation simulation team, and it's really hard to find experts in this area. So I must say that all of us and all of our areas where we work are part of a bigger infrastructure, part of a bigger environment, and we help Moscow take better decisions and we improve Moscow transportation system.
текстовой аналитики.
Now a few words about the text analytics.
Мы, в принципе,
This is what we do.
осуществляем все
As you can see from the title, we work with texts and text analytics. when you need to take an array of hundreds and thousands of messages to a few hundreds and see different messages or news to go from one place to another, to collect, to parse information from Telegram channels, to collect reviews from Yandex Maps. Then you create maybe a word cloud to visualize the most used, most popular words. And these are all the parts of text analytics.
Внутри себя делим нашу работу на 3 направления. Во-первых, это продуктовый.
Inside, we separate the work into 3 areas. First is product development, when we create ready-made digital projects or key solutions. For example, these could be interactive dashboards to monitor data, news, or open source news. These could be different research activities. For example, a research to analyze the transportation in some certain location and maybe analyze the changes of behavior and changes of interest in that particular area of the city. But in general, listen to the opinions of Muscovites. And we have pretty good fundamentals. We improve our methodology and how we operate. We started, and when we started, we had to do things manually, read through and track them manually. But now we have a set of really good algorithms, which makes our work so much easier. For example, we have 500,000 array of publications. You've collected this, you upload it to the server, but in the morning, next day, you've read just a few dozen, maybe a few hundred stories, and you can understand the main area, the main topic of that array, of this very massive array. Now let's move to a different topic. Look into the future a little bit in terms of information torrents going around us. At the intersection of Web 2 and Web 3, there are so many threats generated around us, information threats, and many of those are basically garbage. Months ago, people realized that the age of brain rot has come. And by the way, question to, are you in for Crocodilo Bombardilo or Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la? Yes, so this is one of the popular memes in Russia at the time. Ballerina Cappuccino is also a very good example. Yes, this is like an in-between version. Our analysts are working on this topic, and maybe I will be able to give you a really good presentation on what's better. Every second, there are millions of small notes on the internet. Somebody said that there was a tree falling down because of the wind. Somebody noticed that buses are going a different route. Now it's not that comfortable anymore. Somebody saw a different publication, or maybe a random application got to the top due to the combination of different algorithms. And the point is that all of that happens very, very fast. Just imagine when you publish something and it gets to access, open access, and takes a minute, maybe 2 minutes, and so many people will see it. But when we consider it traditional media, people go and talk to journalists, but it will take a few days for this report before it is published, because it takes several days, maybe several weeks, depending on the importance of the piece, for it to be published. And this is very slow compared to what we have now on the internet. It takes a very long time for it to become published. So text analytics is supposed to improve the speed of that work, because you have to be on the edge in order to be competitive.
Данные из открытых источников — это такая живая кровь.
Open source data is fresh and warm blood. First of all, as I said, this data is fresh in our very fast-paced time, people who get this data first have an advantage. Second, this data represents a real opinion of the majority of people. If we are talking about classical reports and questionnaires, you don't really understand the importance maybe you don't really understand all the metadata of those people. And finally, this analytics is more or less objective because you can see the picture in general. You can have a comprehensive view of what happened, and you do not get a very limited perspective on an event. So suppose we have a request to collect information, to analyze it, and the first thing we have to do is to collect the array of data, like very, very big data, hundreds and thousands of publications, depending on the angle of attack and the depth we want to go in. We have to add localization, to add some words that will be excluded to reduce the noise. We have a number of sources. We cover about 2-3 billions of publications in RUNET per month, so we have things to choose from. We also have transportation sources, which we use for our big data arrays, so we have things to choose from. We have to work with this media field around us, and we have to manage the field so that we get good yield after we treat it well. After we collect the array of data, we have to pre-filter the information. The array must be as clean as possible. We remove this information noise, and then we start working with the data array. We have hundreds and thousands of publications, and here's the point. Basically, each publication, open source publication, can be split into two components. One is the information component and natural reaction. Information wave or information component is a controlled way for this information to propagate from similar sources. So different social technologies are used, software, all that are part of this component. So for example, here we can see similar publications with similar authors, and they were published during the similar time. And it is obvious that this was an information wave, and that's not necessarily bad. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I believe that many of you came here and listened to this online because you've heard about PH Days 2025, and you are here thanks to the information wave. The second component is the natural reaction. Usually they are emotional and they depend on life circumstances. For example, if we want to learn about people's reaction, we remove the information wave from what we analyze. But if we want to look at how people reacted and responded to whatever event happened, then we don't really care about the information wave and we can remove that component. But if you want to have a nice and thorough study, you usually use both components. Now we go to the most interesting part of our publication, our presentation. So we've received all these publications, we've separated into different ways and components and reactions. Obviously, we can do this manually, but it would take years probably to read through all the arrays. And here we use a bunch of algorithms which were developed by our Innovation Center, Safe and Secure Transportation, and it allows us to turn these wild jungles into a very nice and neat greenhouse, so to say, so that we can actually know where each plant is and how to get there. First, we are talking about clusterization and classification of messages. We separate them into different topics, divide and conquer. Even the Romans knew this. Next, singling out key words and phrases and their relations. For example, in theory, this month, we've collected an array of data that have Skype in them. Then the first semantic group will be
Тем самым такой алгоритм тоже
We have Skype in it.
упростить процесс обработки
And
данных.
by using these algorithms, it is possible to make it easier for us to work on this later. We do not go inside the topic, but we understand their relations. Next point is creating linguistic models. That's actually very interesting because you can actually delve very deep into this topic. We take into account jargon, local peculiarities, maybe language preferences. Sometimes it is quite difficult to understand.
Она уже 30
For example, library named after Lenin. And in Russia, it is called also Leninka. But Leninka is a jargon word for the national library named after Lenin. And we have to take into account how different things are named in jargon.
вы собрали
Suppose you have 1,000 of different Telegram channels. You've collected the information and it seems that the majority of the posts on Telegram does not have any headings. You will not read all those posts, right? But we have an LLM machine which will read all those posts instead of you. It will give you a header. Oh, it will give you a heading, a title for this Telegram channel, and you know what it will be talking about. And finally, this is the assessment level. Our artificial intelligence assigns a weight from 0 to 1. If we can see that the piece of news is related to Moscow, this is what we care about, and we put 1 there instead of 0. We are also working on, obviously, we're safe and secure transportation, so we don't really care about celebrities and what happened to them, so we put them in the trash bin. And finally, each
нейтральный окрас.
message can have certain sentiment, positive, negative, or neutral. Depending on this reaction, you can have different output data. We have a number of
Если я буду рассказывать обо всем, то слава
algorithms which we use, and I was just talking about the most interesting ones.
провернули
So once we've done all of that,
наши эксперты.
we give the array to our experts.
Он может являться
Sure, even the text array,
тем, что ожидается.
even if it's clean enough, this is not what our customers want.
Дело в том, что по
And here's the thing.
может сложиться впечатление, что
Text analytics
в Excel
might
в толстой оправе, а нужно
tell you that you have a lot of guys with thick lenses working in Excel when customers need specific solutions. FDR said, tell me what you want and I will answer you why it is not possible. So this is more or less what we are talking about.
визуализация.
Besides recommendations, we also add visualization, so that it will be easier to understand what we are talking about when we are covering a specific topic.
Урбанистики и близко к этой теме.
Since we're talking about urban development,
Представьте,
we also took up geocoding. Suppose you have a massive an array of hundreds and thousands of publications. You start working, you give it to work during the night, and you
адреса,
come back in the morning, and then you get this geodata, addresses, coordinates.
запрос,
All of that
координаты под эти
is taken as input data to our machine,
на тепловую карту.
and then at the end we have a heat map.
То
We have a heat map with all this information. So basically, you can click around different places when people are talking about this. And for urban
нам, не пришлось поднимать тон на отчет.
urban development people, you do realize how important this is. And we just took this information,
Есть
we analyzed this, and we made the visualization for this. And that's one of the benefits of text analytics. So
часто не самые
there are a few examples.
публикации позволяют получить гораздо больше информации.
Sometimes quite rare, not exactly very popular publications provide a lot of useful information. And here are a few projects. So this is one of our transportation dashboard, which provides a lot of real-time data from more than 2,500 transportation sources. It takes about 60 seconds, maybe 120 seconds for information to reach this dashboard. But what's more interesting is that each notification, each comment is checked for being relevant to Moscow. If it's not relevant to Moscow, it doesn't get there. If it's relevant to transportation, it gets there. If it's not relevant to transportation, it does not get there. Our AI reads this piece of news and provides a title for it. And finally, algorithm checks and sees if today we already had similar news. And suppose there was a cycling race and hundreds and thousands of different sources write about exactly the same event. And if we do not
100, 150, 200, 17.
If we just see that we have hundreds and thousands of news that are exactly the same. So if you can understand that different sources are talking about the same event, you can make the process so much faster and so much easier if you can eliminate those redundant sources. We also have specific sentries, people on the street who are watching them 24/7, and they try their best to make our roads safe and secure. And monitoring open source media is part of their work, and they did it manually, which took a lot of their time. But we've created dashboards for them so that they could track open source media for different accidents, for maybe traffic jams, and they will be able to know what to do, and their work became so much easier. What usually happens to news? You get a notification inbox, you click on the mail, and it checks that you read this, and then you have to wait for the next email to arrive. So this is what usually happens with dashboards, and it saves them so much time. Now a little bit about research activities. In Moscow, we have the festival called Moscow 2030. Probably you attended this. It happened here at Luzhniki too. And our colleagues asked us if we could further improve its promotion so that more people learned about Moscow 2030 festival, so that it would bring its value. We've analyzed the array from hundreds, a few dozen thousand publications from different sources, and we're able to learn about the festival from different points of view. Not all of them were obvious, and that was very fruitful work. We've recently started working with ad hocs. Previously, we had very deep analysis, which took a lot of time. But now we've learned for some customers to significantly make the analysis faster. We have express analysis for major cities. Here we analyze 400,000 publications in only 2 working days, and this is very, very fast. As a final outcome, we have recommendations and visualization for our customer, and this would not have been possible without text analytics. Geocoding is very important in our work. We've started using it last year. Since we are in the transportation, then detailing and localization of the transportation using geodata is very, very important. It takes a few hours of work for servers to take this input data and put it on a heat map. Or it could be just a physical map. Or you can draw a polygon. It could be a circle, it could be a rectangle, different shapes. And those could be polygons depending on the time. So for example, when you go from point A to point B, you use the routing, and instead of a circle, you get certain lines which goes around different streets. Then this information can be used for SMS messages. Like there is a traffic jam and you have to go around this block. To sum it up, we can say that text analytics help you get new point of view at the classical analytics, which is not present on the dry reports, which is not covered by major mass media. And we can take this into account, and we don't have to go anywhere asking for data because the data is all around us. That's the value of text analytics for urban development specialists, and especially it allows to take a look, take a fresh perspective on our problem. And this is how we use text analytics to make Moscow safer, faster, and more secure.
Также интересно немножко узнать о
If
инновационном центре, то
you care learning about our innovative center, you can use
Александра Афанасьева.
QR code. You can also subscribe to Alexander Afanasyev, our mentor, and you can join our internships. Vlad and his contribution, thank you very much. We have 4 minutes for questions and for just normal conversation. And this is what I really love about IT people, real communication.
Так у вас все ладно.
I've listened to your presentation. It sounds so great, so nice. But I, as a person who worked with data analytics, with information analytics, journalism, especially news, I understand when we're talking about massive arrays of data, when you have to write leads
И теперь это
for
все
news.
ишечка.
And now
То есть она
artificial intelligence can do this. It takes that array of data and it can write you, and that was my dream. You just take so much data and you get the digest, you get the essence of that data, and you provide this at the governmental level because you work with the government, you work with the biggest, largest city in our country.
хорошо идет.
But I would like to ask you a different question.
Какие-то боли.
What's next?
Есть какие-то боли?
Do you have pain points? Do you have bottlenecks?
Какие-то, может быть, обломчики.
Because we're talking about pain points. Maybe you had some problems. Maybe you had some accidents.
мы проводим, хотелось бы
Yes, that is true. The studies which we have, probably we can make it faster. It was fast, but probably we can do it even faster.
требуется ручного.
There is so much data. There is so much manual application. We need experts to read. We need experts to analyze it. So even this funnel,
Это нужно прочитать,
even the output, you still have to read it.
которое
Maybe you need another AI which will read it. So we have top level AI, then we have middle level AI, and we have bottom level AI. And then AI will read it and take decisions. That's a great future.
Её ровно только и делаем эту штуку.
Obviously, this is exactly what we do.
Модные слова какие-то.
Ну да, не, понятно. Хотя мне очень понравилась фраза, я записал
I do agree and I understand, and this is
ее использовать.
what I have in my personal dictionary.
Классные, кстати,
One of the phrases, one of the quotations from you. Vlad said, you said,
там, некоторое количество сложных, непонятных слов, чтобы вы поняли,
I
что
will
мы там точно
I will use complex words so that you understand that we are experts.
Так вот,
Yes, this is a very good way to show that you're an expert. You use a lot of professional jargon. So one of the main points is
Я не вижу
speed, and another is to
наши исследования действительно очень детализированы.
use and to have as few experts as possible. Yes, I agree. So we really want to
повышать
make it even faster.
Энергия может пойти друг с другом. Больше железа.
I think this can happen together. We have better hardware, we have better calculations. For example, those arrays will be analyzed within a night. But if you can do this in an hour, in 30 minutes, then you can do it within a day.
Работаем.
Работаем над этим, да, я знаю. очень
Yes, we are working towards this goal, and we are building this to get better calculations.
Шутили тут соды, ну, в общем, была церемония награждения, выходили как раз якутяне и говорят,
Yes, this is what happened in Yakutsk,
говорит, мы...
and people have great sense of humor there.
Не лишено смысла.
Да-да-да.
And they built data centers in Yakutia because it's very cold there. So it's natural to build something which produces a lot of heat and needs a lot of cooling.
Информация,
Thank you very much for the presentation.
скорость, пусть вам хватает железа.
Good luck, improve your speed and improve your hardware because you have great ideas.